Welcome back to the channel Coins Most Valuable, where we reveal the hidden fortune behind everyday pocket change. Today, we're exploring the Washington $quarter coins that every American should look out for. Coins that may look ordinary, but some are worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars to collectors. These valuable quarters hold pieces of American history, minting errors, and rare variations that most people never notice. So don't click away. Stay with me till the very end, because the next Washington quarter in your collection or your pocket could be the one that changes everything. If you enjoy discovering rare coins, secret mint errors, and true collector gems, make sure to subscribe to Coins Most Valuable, like this video, and share it with other collectors. Let's uncover the real value of the Washington $quarter together, because your next coin might just be a hidden treasure waiting to be found. Let's get started. First up, the 1965 Washington $quarter coin with no mint mark is one of those coins that every collector and coin enthusiast should take a closer look at. On the surface, it looks just like any other regular quarter, something you might have in your change right now. But this coin carries an incredible story of transition, rarity, and hidden value. What makes the 1965 quarter special is not just its design or age, but the moment in U.S. history that it represents, and the small minting details that can make one coin worth far more than face value. Back in 1965, the U.S. Mint was facing a major crisis, a nationwide coin shortage caused by rising silver prices. The earlier Washington quarters from 1932 through 1964 were made of 90% silver, but when silver prices surged, people began hoarding coins, melting them down for their metal value. In response, the Mint made a major change, removing silver from the quarter altogether. The 1965 Washington quarter was the first in a new era of coinage, struck on a copper-nickel-clad planchet instead of silver. That one change marked a turning point in American coin history, and that's what makes the 1965 quarter so significant today. The absence of a mint mark on this coin adds another layer of mystery. In 1965, to discourage coin hoarding and to simplify production, the U.S. Mint decided to remove mint marks entirely. That means every 1965 quarter you find will appear to have no mint mark, regardless of where it was struck. It's a small detail, but it represents a unique moment when the Mint tried to keep the flow of coins steady during a national shortage. Still, some collectors believe that certain coins struck at specific facilities show slightly different characteristics, like strike quality or planchet color, making some pieces stand out among the millions. Now, you might wonder, with so many 1965 quarters made, how could one be valuable? The truth is, not all 1965 quarters are equal. While hundreds of millions were minted, a few special ones have become incredibly valuable due to striking errors, unique planchets, or exceptional preservation. Some 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964, and those are the true treasures collectors dream about. Imagine a 1965 quarter that was supposed to be copper nickel, but instead was made from silver. That tiny minting mistake can make a coin worth thousands of dollars today. One of the most famous 1965 quarters ever discovered was struck on a 90% silver planchet, a remarkable mint error that slipped through during the transition period. At auction, examples of these rare silver 1965 quarters have sold for astonishing prices. In fact, the highest recorded price ever paid for a 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark was $12,650, achieved at a Heritage Auctions event for specimen graded in superb condition. That's an incredible number when you think about it, a 25-cent coin selling for over $12,000. But even ordinary 1965 quarters can have collector value if they're in pristine, uncirculated condition. High-grade examples with sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of wear can easily fetch significant premiums compared to face value. Collectors seek out coins with fully struck hairlines on Washington's portrait, clean rims, and no visible marks on the fields. The 1965 quarter marked the debut of the copper-nickel composition, and coins that have survived nearly 60 years in perfect condition are not easy to find. To understand why these coins are so popular, you have to think about what they symbolize. The Washington quarter design itself has deep American roots, featuring George Washington, the nation's first president, on the obverse, and the bold eagle on the reverse, representing strength and freedom. In 1965, that familiar design continued, but the material changed, marking a symbolic shift from precious metal to practicality. It's a fascinating snapshot of the economic pressures of the 1960s and how the government responded to rising metal costs. When collectors look at 1965 quarters, they often focus on specific die varieties and striking anomalies. Some coins show double dies, off-center strikes, or broad strikes that occurred during minting. Others may display unusual toning or color caused by exposure to the environment, which can make them visually unique. While many of these are subtle, experienced collectors know that even the smallest difference can turn an ordinary coin into something truly collectible. The thrill of checking each coin carefully keeps people searching through jars, rolls, and old change, hoping to find that one special 1965 quarter. The interesting thing about the 1965 Washington quarter is that it bridges two eras, the silver era and the modern clad era. That makes it a favorite among both old school and modern collectors. It's not just a coin, it's a transition piece, a marker of history. Every time you hold a 1965 quarter, you're holding the very first year of the modern clad quarter, the design that's still used in circulation today. This historical significance alone gives it a special place in American coin collecting. And then there's the excitement around finding a silver 1965 quarter by accident. Even today, people occasionally discover them in inherited coin collections, old rolls, or mixed change. The key way to identify one of these rare silver-struck coins is by checking its weight. A normal copper-nickel 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a genuine silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams. That tiny difference can mean the difference between a regular coin and one worth thousands. Collectors also pay attention to the coin's edge. On a copper-nickel clad quarter, you'll see a distinct copper-colored stripe running along the edge, while a silver planchet will appear completely silver all around. That's another quick way to spot a potential treasure hiding in plain sight. Over the years, more and more people have started checking their quarters closely because stories of valuable 1965 coins being found in circulation continue to surface. Auction records show that demand for high-quality 1965 quarters has remained strong, especially for those struck on silver planchets or those that have a proof-like finish. Some collectors have managed to find examples with mirror-like surfaces that resemble proof coins, even though official proofs were not struck for circulation in 1965. Those coins can also fetch impressive prices because of their rarity and eye appeal. Even though the mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins, only a handful have achieved top grades from professional coin grading standards. That scarcity at the high end drives prices up dramatically. When you think about how many 1965 quarters have been handled, spent, and worn down over 6 decades, finding one that looks brand new, as if it just left the press, is truly remarkable. Beyond the money, the 1965 quarter represents a piece of American life. It circulated through an era of change, the height of a space race, the civil rights movement, and major shifts in U.S. culture. This coin passed through the hands of millions of Americans during a time of transformation, and that gives it a kind of nostalgic power. Collectors don't just see metal, they see history, and that's what makes the 1965 Washington quarter so beloved. So whenever you come across a 1965 quarter with no mint mark, don't dismiss it as just another old coin. Take a moment to look closely. Check its edge, weigh it if you can, and look for sharp details. You never know if you might have one of those rare silver transition coins that could change your collection forever. And if you do find one that's in exceptional condition, remember that examples have sold for over $12,000 at auction, an incredible reward for paying attention to the small details. Even if your 1965 quarter isn't one of the rare silver types, it still holds collectible interest as the first year of America's modern clad coinage. That historical connection and the enduring design of George Washington make it a must-have for anyone building a complete collection of U.S. quarters. Many coin enthusiasts include the 1965 quarter as a cornerstone piece, not for its silver, but for what it represents in the evolution of American money. So, as you sort through your pocket change, coin jars, or inherited collections, always keep an eye out for this remarkable coin. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark tells a story of change, adaptation, and hidden value. Some of these coins are still out there, waiting to be discovered, and each one has the potential to surprise even the most experienced collector. Next up, the legendary 1972 Washington quarter dollar coin with no mint mark might look like an ordinary coin sitting in your pocket change right now, but it's far from ordinary. This coin carries hidden details, historical significance, and a surprising collector's value that many people overlook. While millions were made, certain examples of this coin are incredibly rare, and some have sold for astonishing prices at auction. If you think all quarters are just worth 25 cents, this story will make you look at every coin differently. The 1972 quarter marks an important era in American coinage. It was part of the copper-nickel-clad generation that began in 1965 when the U.S. Mint removed silver from the nation's circulating coins. By 1972, people had already grown used to the new metal composition, but the Mint continued refining the design and striking techniques. The Washington quarter still featured the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, created by sculptor John Flanagan, and the proud American eagle on the reverse, a timeless symbol of freedom and strength. When we talk about the 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark, we're referring to those coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. In that period, Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark, so any 1972 quarter without one automatically traces its origin there. It's a small but meaningful detail that collectors immediately recognize, and for those passionate about American coinage, the lack of a mint mark can add a layer of historical authenticity. Now, here's where things start to get interesting. The 1972 quarters were produced in large numbers, yet among those millions of coins, a few have stood out because of their exceptional condition, unique minting errors, or unusual planchet characteristics. Those special traits are what transform a simple piece of pocket change into something truly valuable. Most circulated 1972 quarters still only hold face value, but uncirculated or mint state specimens can bring in impressive premiums. Collectors search for coins that have full, sharp details in George Washington's hair, clean fields with no marks, and brilliant original luster. These small differences can push the value of a 1972 quarter well above its face value. In fact, the highest price ever recorded for a 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark was an astonishing $1,380, achieved at a Heritage Auctions event for a flawless MS.67 example with exceptional eye appeal. That's over $1,000 for a single 25-cent coin, a reminder that quality and preservation truly matter in coin collecting. Imagine finding a 1972 quarter in such pristine condition that it looks as if it just left the mint 50-plus years ago. That's the dream for many collectors. The challenge is that most coins entered circulation quickly and picked up scratches, nicks, and wear from everyday use. Finding one that has survived untouched is incredibly rare, and that's why these coins can command so much money at auction. Even more fascinating, the 1972 Washington quarter is known for a few subtle minting errors that can dramatically increase its value. Some examples show double dies, where parts of the design, like the lettering or the details in Washington's eye and hair, appear doubled under magnification. Others display off-center strikes, broad strikes, or clipped planchets, all of which occurred during the minting process. Each type of error tells a story about how the coin was made, and serious collectors are willing to pay a premium for these unique variations. The 1972 quarter also represents a time when America's coinage was modernizing. The U.S. economy was changing, silver coins were long gone from circulation, and the copper-nickel alloy became the national standard. Even though it wasn't made of precious metal, the Washington quarter continued to hold symbolic value, representing trust, stability, and American history. That's why it's still one of the most recognized coins around the world. When you look closely at the obverse side, you see the left-facing profile of George Washington, the word liberty, arched across the top, the motto, "In God We Trust," to the left, and the date 1972 centered below the bust. The simplicity of this design is part of its power, timeless, classic, and distinctly American. The reverse side, with the eagle perched on a bundle of arrows above an olive branch, symbolizes both strength and peace, two ideals deeply rooted in the nation's spirit. Over the years, collectors have realized that even modern-era coins like the 1972 quarter can become valuable investments. What determines that value? Three major factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity can come from minting mistakes or low-population high-grade examples. Condition is determined by how well the coin has survived over time. And demand is driven by how many collectors are searching for the same coin in top quality. When those three elements come together, prices soar. The most desirable 1972 Washington quarters are those that achieve the top mint state grades, typically MS.66 or MS.67. At these levels, every tiny detail is perfectly struck, the surfaces are bright, and the coin looks nearly flawless under magnification. There may only be a handful of such coins known, which is why collectors compete aggressively for them at major auctions. Every year, auction results show strong bidding for high-grade clad quarters, proving that even non-silver issues can have serious value when they are in exceptional condition. It's also worth noting that the 1972 quarter was part of an era before the mint introduced the bicentennial design. So this coin still carries the classic eagle reverse, the one that collectors loved for decades before the 1976 design temporarily replaced it. That gives the 1972 issue a nostalgic appeal. It's part of the final stretch of the original Washington quarter design before the country celebrated its 200th anniversary. Some collectors also focus on full strike details, particularly the sharpness in the hair and the feathers of eagle. A coin that shows full definition in these areas can bring a premium even if the numerical grade is slightly lower. That's because sharpness and visual appeal matter almost as much as technical perfection. When we talk about the 1972 quarter's potential value, it's important to remember how condition scales work. A well-worn example from everyday use may only bring 25 cents. A lightly circulated one might bring $1 or $2 to a collector who needs it for a set. But once you reach the uncirculated range, especially coins graded MS, 65 and above, the value jumps dramatically. The difference between MS 65 and MS 67 can easily be hundreds of dollars. That's the fascinating thing about coin collecting. Small differences that most people would never notice can translate into massive differences in price. Collectors are drawn to the 1972 Washington quarter because it represents both accessibility and potential reward. It's a coin that nearly everyone has seen or handled, yet hidden among those millions could be a rare gem worth far more than anyone expects. This combination of common appearance and hidden rarity keeps interest alive year after year. As for the errors, one of the most notable 1972 quarter errors involves off-center strikes. These coins show part of the design missing or shifted toward the edge, with a blank crescent where the metal wasn't fully struck. Depending on how dramatic the error is, these coins can sell for anywhere from a few dollars to several hundred. Another popular type is the clipped planchet, where a small piece of the coin's edge appears cut out due to a misfeed in the minting press. Such coins are visually striking and instantly recognizable to collectors. Then there are the double die varieties, particularly those showing doubling in the words, "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." While these are not extremely common, when they appear on a 1972 quarter, collectors pay attention. Strong doubling can multiply a coin's value many times over. One of the reasons people continue to search through rolls of quarters is because of coins like this, coins from ordinary years that unexpectedly hold value due to quality, rarity, or error. Finding one of these rare 1972 quarters in circulation today is unlikely, but not impossible. That's part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when you might stumble upon a valuable piece of history in your spare change. Even if your 1972 Washington quarter doesn't turn out to be a rare mint error or a top-graded gem, it still holds a place in U.S. numismatic history. It represents an important era of stability in American coinage, the continuity of the Washington design, and the enduring strength of the quarter as America's most trusted denomination. Think about how many hands a single quarter might have passed through in the past 50 years: vending machines, cash registers, gas stations, and family pockets. Each coin tells a silent story of daily American life. Yet among those billions of stories, a few rare examples stand apart, preserved in brilliant mint condition, protected from wear, and eventually recognized as valuable treasures. So whenever you come across a 1972 quarter with no mint mark, don't overlook it. Take a closer look at its surface, its edges, and its shine. You could be holding a small but significant piece of U.S. history, one that has the potential to surprise you with its true value. Remember, a 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark in perfect mint state condition once sold for $1,380, and examples with unique errors can bring even more. That's the magic of coin collecting, hidden value waiting to be discovered in something as ordinary as a quarter. Next up, the iconic 1998 Washington quarter dollar coin with the D mint mark is one of those coins that looks completely ordinary, yet hides a fascinating story of rarity, value, and history that few people realize. You might have one of these coins sitting right in your change, and without even knowing it, you could be holding a coin worth far more than 25 cents. The 1998 D Washington quarter has become a favorite among collectors because of its sharp strikes, subtle varieties, and rare high-grade examples that have sold for impressive prices at auction. The 1998 Washington quarter was struck at several different U.S. mint facilities, but the one carrying the D mint mark comes from the Denver Mint. That small D, located just to the right of Washington's ponytail, represents one of America's most productive coin mints. The Denver Mint has a long tradition of producing circulation coins, and in 1998 it struck hundreds of millions of Washington quarters. Yet among all those coins, only a small number have survived in pristine mint state condition, and those are the coins that command collector attention and strong auction prices today. To understand why the 1998 D Washington quarter can be valuable, we first have to look at what makes this year special. The late 1990s were the final years before the U.S. Mint launched the 50-state quarters program in 1999. That means the 1998 D Washington quarter was part of the last regular issue of the traditional eagle reverse design that had been used since 1932. After 1998, the design changed to feature each state's unique emblem. This makes 1998 a transition year, the end of an era, and that gives this coin both historical importance and collector appeal. The obverse of a 1998 D quarter features the familiar left-facing portrait of George Washington, a design by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty above, In God We Trust on the left, and the date 1998 at the bottom. The reverse side shows the proud American eagle, wings spread wide, clutching arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing both defense and peace. It's one of the most recognizable images in U.S. coinage, and this was its last appearance before the new millennium brought in a new series. Now, while billions of quarters circulate each year, not everyone is the same. The 1998 D Washington quarter is an excellent example of how quality, condition, and even tiny minting differences can turn an ordinary coin into something truly valuable. Collectors pay close attention to strike sharpness, surface quality, and luster, that mirror-like brilliance that reflects light beautifully. Coins that were never used, never handled, and stored carefully from the day they were minted can reach top grading levels and become incredibly valuable. Most 1998 D quarters found in pocket change are worth only their face value. They've been circulated, they have scratches and marks, and their luster is gone. But those rare mint-state specimens, the coins that look absolutely flawless, can sell for remarkable amounts of money. The highest price ever recorded at auction for a 1998 D Washington quarter was an amazing $1,495, achieved for a superbly preserved coin graded MS 68 by professional graders. That's nearly $1,500 for a single 25-cent piece. What makes that coin so valuable? It's all about condition and scarcity. At that grade level, the coin shows no visible marks, no wear, and a perfect strike with blazing mint luster. There may be hundreds of millions of 1998 D quarters in circulation, but only a handful are in that perfect mint state category. Those are the ones collectors compete for, and that competition drives the price higher and higher. But condition isn't the only thing that can make the 1998 D quarter valuable. Some examples are known for interesting minting errors, small mistakes made during production that create unusual or eye-catching features. These can include off-center strikes, clip planchets, broad strikes, double dies, and even struck-through grease errors that cause parts of the design to appear faint or missing. Depending on the type and severity of the error, these coins can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to several $100s or more. For example, a 1998 D quarter with a visible double die on the obverse, where parts of the lettering or date appear doubled under magnification, can bring strong collector interest. Another popular type is the off-center strike, where the design is noticeably shifted away from the center, creating a unique crescent of blank metal on the coin's surface. The more dramatic the shift, the more valuable the coin becomes. Collectors love these kinds of pieces because each error tells a story. It's a glimpse into the minting process, showing that even with high-tech machinery, mistakes can happen, and those mistakes make for some of the most fascinating finds in modern coin collecting. The 1998 D Washington quarter is also a piece of nostalgia for many collectors. It represents the last breath of a classic design, a coin that circulated through the late 1990s when the U.S. economy was booming and before the new state quarter craze began. For younger collectors, it's a connection to their childhood. For older collectors, it's a reminder of a simpler time in coinage. That emotional connection helps sustain demand for this coin and keeps value strong. When it comes to spotting a valuable 1998 D Washington quarter, the first step is to look closely at the coin's mint mark. That small D on the right side of the obverse below Washington's hair tie is your key identifier. Then, examine the coin's surfaces. Does it have sharp details in Washington's hair, smooth fields, and no visible wear? Does it have bright, original luster that reflects light like a mirror? If so, you may have a high-grade specimen that's worth holding on to. Even coins that appear lightly circulated can still bring a few dollars if they retain strong details and eye appeal. But for serious collectors, only the top-graded examples, MS 67 and MS 68, represent the best of the best. These are the coins that end up at major auction houses and capture headlines when they sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's talk a bit more about the market for these coins. Over the past decade, interest in modern Washington quarters has grown dramatically. Collectors who once focused only on silver issues from 1932 to 1964 are now expanding into clad coins like the 1998D. As older generations of collectors complete their silver sets, they begin looking for modern issues in high grade, and that demand drives prices higher for perfect examples of later years. This trend has made coins like the 1998D Washington Quarter especially exciting to watch. While it may not have the silver content of earlier coins, it has scarcity in condition, and that scarcity is powerful in the world of coin collecting. Only a small percentage of all 1998D quarters remain in gem mint state today. Most were used in circulation, tossed into vending machines, or carried in pockets, which means they picked up marks and lost their shine. Finding one that looks flawless is like finding a needle in a haystack. Another reason collectors value the 1998D Washington Quarter is because it bridges the gap between the old and new. It's the last of the traditional eagle reverse design before the state quarters began in 1999. That makes it a symbolic end of an era coin, the final chapter of the original Washington Quarter series. Collectors love transition pieces like this because they mark important turning points in U.S. numismatic history. When you hold a 1998D Washington Quarter, you're holding the very last of its kind, a design that had been part of American life for over 6 decades. From the Great Depression through World War II, through the Cold War and the rise of technology, the Washington Quarter remained constant. And by 1998, it was preparing to change. That historical meaning gives the coin a depth beyond its face value. Now let's talk about some specifics for identifying a truly high-value 1998D quarter. On the obverse, look for full, crisp details in Washington's hair, a strong strike on the lettering, and smooth, reflective surfaces. On the reverse, check the eagle's feathers, especially the tips of the wings and the legs. Weakly struck areas can reduce value, while full feather definition adds desirability. Luster is another key factor. Collectors often describe mint state luster as cartwheel shine, the way light spins around the surface as you tilt the coin. A coin that has been handled or cleaned will lose that natural luster, which reduces its grade and its value. The most valuable examples of the 1998D Washington Quarter have untouched, original mint luster that sparkles just like it did when it left the Denver Mint. If you ever come across a 1998D Washington Quarter that looks unusually perfect, it's worth getting a closer look under magnification. Check for possible doubling on the letters, especially Liberty, and In God We Trust. Sometimes minor doubling or die deterioration can create subtle features that make the coin unique and more interesting to collectors. Auction records prove that high-grade modern quarters are becoming a hot segment of the market. The 1998D Washington Quarter's record price of $1,495 at auction demonstrates just how valuable these coins can be when preserved in flawless condition. And as time passes, finding pristine examples will only become harder, which means prices could rise even higher in the future. Every coin has a story, and the 1998D Washington Quarter tells a story of change, precision, and hidden value. It reminds us that even in the modern era, the U.S. Mint's craftsmanship and the collector's eye for perfection can turn everyday coins into prized possessions. So the next time you go through your spare change, don't overlook that quarter dated 1998 with a small D mint mark. Look closer because you might just be holding one of those few coins that survived the test of time in mint condition. A coin that cost 25 cents to make, yet could be worth over $1,000 to the right collector. That's the fascinating world of rare and valuable Washington quarters, and the 1998D Washington Quarter Dollar stands proudly among them as one of the last great classic designs before the new era of state quarters began. Before you go, make sure you don't miss my previous video on Jefferson nickels, where we revealed some of the most valuable nickels ever discovered, coins hiding in plain sight that could be worth a small fortune today. If you enjoyed learning about these rare and valuable Washington quarters, then you'll definitely want to see what makes those Jefferson nickels so special. Don't forget to subscribe to Coins Most Valuable for more amazing discoveries about rare U.S. coins that could be sitting in your collection or pocket change right now. Hit that like button, share this video with other collectors and coin lovers, and leave a comment below telling me which coin from today's video surprised you the most. Your support helps keep this channel growing and allows me to bring you even more stories of hidden treasures, rare mint errors, and valuable American coins that continue to amaze collectors around the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Coins Most Valuable.